Welcome everybody. So New Mutants, right? New Mutants was it was a roller coaster. So basically, in order for this film to get released, right, what ended up happening was this film was originally supposed to be released, if I'm not mistaken, in 2017, right? And so 2017 was when this film was originally supposed to be released, right? It got delayed. Apparently, I think it had to go through reshoots. It had to get some things fixed. When it first came out, like when the trailers first released for this thing in like 2017 or 2018, I was like, okay, this looks nice. This looks like something I could be into. I was thinking like maybe there's a shot that it could be good. Well, then in 2018, it got delayed again. Then it got delayed again. Then it got delayed to 2019. And then it got delayed to 2020. Then COVID hit. Then it got delayed even further. And so when it finally released, right, and I finally was able to watch it, and I believe it was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was like November 2020. So when I was finally able to watch it, I was really excited because I was like, all right, cool, let's finally watch this. So I go out with my girlfriend to go watch this movie or whatever, and we're watching it or whatever, and this film was so goddamn boring. Like, I'm the biggest fan of Marvel. You put a Marvel film in front of me, 90% of the time, I'm more than guaranteed to like it. Unless you're like Captain Marvel or New Mutants, apparently. And I was like, Godly, this fucking film sucks. So, for starters, what they tried to do is go for a suspenseful horror film. I think something like that could work very well with, superpowers, a super themed people. I think that could work. That would make perfect sense. You think in the real world people are going to immediately get powers and be like, oh my god, this is amazing. Some will, but more often than not, people will be terrified. They'll be scared. Especially if you have a power where, like, for instance, your whole body turns on fire. Or maybe turn into a hideous rock monster when you're pissed, or something like that. If you get some power that's, like, not like, oh, cool, I can shoot webs from my hands, people are more often than not going to be scared of you. And so, the idea of that kind of premise, immediately I was like, okay, this is amazing. When I started watching the film, though, so, like, the film, basically the whole point of it is, from the very beginning, you see this Indian tribe that's being attacked by what sounds like a growling beast, right? And you're like, okay, alright. It's a little bit of an intriguing start. This girl is running with her dad. They're running from this monster. They're claiming it's a tornado, but I don't know what kind of tornado growls. And they're running and shit, and the dad says, stay here, I'll be back. Which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why the fuck are you gonna say, stay right here, I'll be back? What, if this was a tornado, my G? Because that's apparently what they all thought it was. What the fuck are you gonna do? And even if it was a bear, do you think that you by yourself without needing weapons is gonna do anything? To be honest, he just needed to go out there so he could die because we all need a hero with a dead parent cliche. And so she gets taken to a mental ward. They're saying like, hey, you're here to basically like learn your powers or whatever. And this woman basically starts saying stuff like that, right? And as the film progresses, you start to find out that this woman isn't exactly training these people to be part of the X-Men. Wow, I would have never figured. And this immediately brings up things. The X-Men, right? So people are saying the X-Men. So obviously everyone knows the X-Men. And for some reason they think the X-Men would put people in mental wards. These people clearly, these mutants clearly look at the X-Men as heroes. So why would you think that they're going to put you in a mental ward? Like, I get the whole, oh, we're here to learn our powers. Okay, don't you think you would have probably seen some X-Men by now then? Even just one? But of course, they all go with it. And they don't care. Well, this leads into the next thing that immediately doesn't make sense about this film. Eventually, Magic, this Russian girl, and the main character, I forgot her fucking name. They called her Pocahontas a few times, so I'm just gonna call her Pocahontas. So Pocahontas, because she's a really forgettable character. I forgot her real name. Basically, what ends up happening is that Magic is like picking on her for absolutely no reason. She's just supposed to come off as this tough and badass who's a jerk to certain people, but you don't exactly get a sense of why. Later on, you hear that like she may have been touched a lot when she was a kid, but that doesn't exactly translate to only being a dick to one person, because she's nice to everyone else except her, like the Indian girl. But I digress. So basically, Magic, what she ends up doing is she ends up telling the girl, hey, run over there. If you want freedom, you go for it. And she runs and she hits a force field. And that's when they say, yeah, little girl, you cannot escape this region. There's a force field, you dummy. You can't escape out of here. Well, this immediately raises up some questions, because as soon as Pocahontas realizes, hey, Magic just, like, tricked me to, like, hit this fucking force field because she's a dick, what she decides to do is try to tackle Magic. Magic immediately teleports. This raises some questions. One, can't magic just teleport outside of the barrier? And if not, why? And two, later on you find out that magic can teleport in and out into a different dimension, right? She can go into a different dimension, go there, and come back out if she wants. At that rate, the force field shouldn't be able to transcend dimensions. So it's clear that she can go into that new dimension and run around just fine. So you're telling me that she couldn't just open a portal, get everyone into the portal, and just go out into this dimension and go outside the portal? Because I'm pretty sure that's not the strongest force field we've ever seen in, like, history. I'm pretty sure that portal, that, like, fucking force field, the orange force field, I'm pretty sure that does not transcend different dimensions. If so, someone needs to nerf that bitch. So either way, there was some questions. And you start to learn a little bit about these characters' backstories or whatever, and it's just kind of like, eh. Like, you don't really care because you're not really invested. Like I said, the only one I remembered their name was Magic. And that's because I know her from the X-Men comics. Everyone else, I don't know who the fuck they are. I don't know their fucking names. I think one of them is Speedball, but they really don't do much with him because in the comics, he gets very edgy very quick. In the comics, Speedball is this character who's very jovial and very happy and whatever, right? He's so goofy, he has this blue and orange costume or whatever. He's so happy. He's able to, like, I think he's able to fly and, like, shoot little balls out of his hands or whatever. It's a weird power. I don't remember much about Speedball. Speedball's not all that interesting. But what ends up happening is in the comics, he starts fighting this character named Nitro. And Nitro has the ability to basically blow himself up and still be alive afterwards. So Speedball is fighting him on national TV because he's in a reality TV show for superheroes. And so he fights him, and this instigates Nitro to explode, which destroys, like, I think a couple cities, and it kills a bunch of children. And so because of that, Speedball feels so fucking hurt about this, because he lives, that what he decides to do is make this metal suit that is super edgy, full of spikes, and he calls himself Penance. Penance for your sins. And so what he does is that all the spikes that stick out of his suit are actually piercing into his body. So he's getting stabbed constantly and always in pain from those spikes. Very edgy character, like from 0 to 100 real quick. And they kind of try to do something similar with that in the movie, but the comic didn't work, the movie sure as hell didn't work. So yeah, that's what happened. Then you find out that basically the nurse, the main female nurse, she's the one who makes the force fields. This raises more questions. Clearly these characters want to get out of this mental asylum. They've mentioned it multiple times. And, they clearly want to get out of here. So this raises the next question. If they knew that if this front mistress lady was the one making the force fields, why didn't they just try to kill her when she was in her sleep? Because it's clear as day that magic can go into her portal dimension and at least, move around in the asylum. So clearly a metal door is not going to hold her back, and there's no force fields on the metal doors. So magic could at least go and sneak attack this woman and slit her throat. Why doesn't she do that? And even if they're not going to use magic, those other characters have been able to break down metal doors before. They even showed in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. So why the fuck couldn't you break down the metal doors and go and slit this woman's throat in her sleep? Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But then if they want to pull the whole, oh no, when we as the audience see this woman making the force fields, this is the first time they see it? Okay. My point still stands. Why don't they slit her throat? Why don't they slit her throat when she's asleep? Because as soon as you slit her throat, more than likely, the entire place is going to be free. If you guys want to get out so bad, slit her fucking throat when she sleeps. See, this raises a lot of questions, because, to be honest, in my opinion, if you would have said, hey, this is under, like, a bunker, or this is in a really secluded room that no one can find because it's behind a wall or something, and that's where the force field is being generated, fine, whatever. But, of course, they had to use a mutant to hide other mutants. And this also raises a bunch of other questions. Who is this woman working for? Because she says that this group wants to use them as weapons. Okay, so is she an assassin? Like, what is she exactly? And why is she entrusted into protecting and, training these mutants to be assassins? What makes her think that these characters will become assassins? Has she done this before? More than likely, but we don't know. Who is she working for? And are they having a vendetta with the X-Men? Because as far as we've seen in the continuity of the X-Men films, the only characters that I can remember off the top of my head who went against the X-Men that were mutant related were children of Magneto, basically. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, or whatever the hell is their name. I forgot their fucking name. Magneto's Brotherhood is the only one in X-Men 1, 2, and 3 who attacked the X-Men. First Class, there was a couple people, whatever. that weren't Magneto based. Okay, whatever. Days of Future Past, Magneto. Fucking Apocalypse. So we got like a couple outliers, First Class and like Apocalypse, but more often than not, it's always Magneto. So who are these mutants being trained for? Because the government in the X-Men series hated mutants and they never really wanted to work with them. They always wanted to like fucking kill them on the spot. So I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be the government. So who are they working for? It just doesn't make sense. And the film was very predictable. From the moment that the film started, you could tell what was going to happen. Literally within the first like 20 minutes, when they introduced this girl who can turn into a werewolf, I immediately said, hey, that's the love interest. You know why? Because they're giving her a sad backstory about her religion, saying that she was hated for being abnormal and different. Guess what? Later on, she proves she's more different because she starts watching a fucking lesbian kissing scene on TV. Lo and behold, she starts kissing the main character at some point in the film, and it's like, I would have never guessed. And then, lo and behold, another thing. Hey, this film is centered around this main girl. A bunch of their fears are starting up now. Maybe the main girl is causing their fears to become a thing. Wow, would have never guessed that. And that was it. Oh, everything's gonna be resolved by the end? Would have never guessed that. Oh, look, none of the main characters are gonna die? Wow, would have never guessed. Like, it's just so predictable. Like, you can predict most of the stuff that's gonna happen in this film. And because of that, it just got so boring to the point where I took out my phone and started texting. Like, I just genuinely was that bored because I felt like I already seen the movie, even though this was my first time viewing it. And it just was so boring. Not to mention that the end battle was extremely excruciatingly boring. Magic was very entertaining to watch, but her fighting a demon bear, it was just really bad. Either way, not a film for me. So, with that, guys, I just want to close. Don't forget to like this video if you did. Don't share this one with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to my Ghost Stories for more vlog type shit like this. And yeah, now hear me out. Last thing. Don't y'all think that it would have been a very interesting thing to see Deadpool show up and save these kids? Now, bear with me. Think about it. If you've seen Deadpool 1, Deadpool was put into a very similar situation where he was experimented on, kept against his will, and forced to basically undergo certain procedures to activate his powers, to show that he could probably be a use to them or whatever. And he broke free. And he hated that idea of captivity. Don't you think it would have been super cool to see Deadpool show up and save these kids because he didn't want anyone to go through what he went through? I think that would have been fucking awesome. Because it would have made sense. Those kids were basically going through not exactly what Deadpool went through, but very similar. I think it would have been cool. But whatever. So with that, guys, one video. So with that, guys, it's one video to close. I'm Killer Zamzam, and I'm out for now. Peace.